joining us. He did his GA years under John Beeline, a pupil, a student of the game, a Concordia alum, and now an assistant coach to the Ohio University Bobcats. Our good friend Kyle Barlow. Coach Barlow, needed now more than ever, my friend. How are you this morning, partner?
And yeah, I know, weird morning, huh? Weird morning, but hopefully we can provide a little distraction. And I know you've been talking Super Bowl. How about the Rihanna halftime having higher ratings than the actual game? How about that? I didn't even know they measured that.
I didn't know that. Well, I mean, they just keep. I guess they keep the ticker going the entire time. We had one caller yesterday that said that the ratings for halftime would have been half of what. I was like, no, man, no. You had people tuning in just to see her. I mean, she got like a cult following. I did see that one of the background dancers almost fell off of one of the elevated platforms.
Oh man, I saw that too. That'd have been. I don't know what they would have done with that Oompa Loompa marshmallow type fella if that would have happened. But yeah, almost disaster. And I will say, I even told Sierra when they were lifting her up in the very end, I looked and they did have her strapped in. You can see that they were strapped in. But it wouldn't matter for me, man. My knees would be wobbly. There's no way in heck I'd be able to do that and still sing. Like, I would be clutching for dear life going to the top of that stadium.
Yeah, no thanks. I'm good. I'm not going up in the air. And look, people with halftime, these halftime acts. Have you ever seen the great Slottick? Has he ever performed at anywhere you've been? I'll give you it's an old guy, and he does handstands on chairs, and he stacks wooden chairs on top of each other until his feet almost touch the video board at Chrysler Center. And I'm like, look, man, like, can we put some pads down, please, on the floor? Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
Get like gymnastics pads in here.
More than that. Like, we need can we get the pit with the foam out here, please? Like, we don't need an accident to do, like, it just, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting I'm too nervous Nelly in my old age.
I'm saying, but, is that one of the better ones in recent memory, or is this just recency bias? I think for me, the Super Bowl halftime that stands out, for me personally, was the Bruno Mars one. I think in 2014, I thought that was electric. This one's up there. It was one of the better ones in recent memory. Of course, at least in my opinion, I think I've seen a lot of shade get thrown on that halftime performance on Twitter and such. But you never know. People just like to throw stuff out there too. So what did you think? One of the best in recent memory, or?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. I like last year's. I thought that the Weekends was kind of cool just because it came with a bunch of like fun memes where he was just like running around in all the mirrors. Couldn't find out where he was going. Like, I don't, Super Bowl halftime doesn't do a lot for me to begin with. But I like, she played a lot of hits. She had a lot of hits there. I felt like that was going on forever. And I was totally fine with it. I know the people, it's a demographics thing, right? So a lot of the it's going to skew a little bit younger when it comes to who likes and enjoys her music and would enjoy that performance. So for me, yeah, it was fine. Somebody said put George Strait and Alan Jackson out there. If that's what you want, I guess that's not going to do much from a rating standpoint. Because you got to remember, like, the target demo, 18 to 54 is the moneymaker. That gets 25 to 36 is really like, that's really the wheelhouse right there that you want to hit. Those that age range. That demo controls a lot of kind of what we see, what we hear, what is popular in this day and in age, and that's right in our wheelhouse too. So I was fine with it. It was the game was great. And that's what I was happy about. I was happy that we had a very entertaining game. Guys came to hit right off the bat. I mean, Pacheco, when he got drilled in the first series, it was like, wow. Everyone was like, ooh, at the bar. I went to a bar to watch it. So I was good with that.
Yeah. Has the Super Bowl, you kind of touched on it, has the Super Bowl been the one thing in American culture right now, in American life, with so much political unrest and things going on? Is it the one thing we can count on for everybody in America? Because you got football, you got beer, you got hitting, you got the woke culture with everything that around the virtue signaling around the Super Bowl. You got the commercials for the popular culture. You got the halftime show for the musically inclined. Is it the one thing we can count on one Sunday night of the year that everybody can pretty much enjoy at some point or another?
You would hope, but then look, the ratings are through the roof, and nothing survives bad press like the Shield. I mean, the NFL, I mean, they put on an absolute clinic. I mean, just a couple of years ago, we had people burning jerseys. Never going to watch again. Ratings have never been higher. Salary cap is going up. Leagues do it just fine. Welcome back, right? Rihanna was never going to sing at the Super Bowl as in the summer of 2020. She said she would never do it, right? Because it goes against everything she stands for. A couple years later, my, how the turntables. There she is, floating around, pregnant and all. So, I mean, look, it is a singular event that only Americans have, that we can all kind of come together and just sit down and watch and enjoy. You'll have your typical people that are just, you know, miserable humans that are going to put up a fight for God knows what reason. But yeah, everybody else is watching.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I love it. I think, you know, I just sat there and watching it, and I was like, is this the one thing we can all agree on as Americans? And we don't have to agree on exactly what part we love, but, you know, you do get the USA Today article coming out, top 5 Super Bowl commercials. You know, the next day you get the real football people talking about the football. You get the people just enjoying a game. You know, like Detroit, I saw was the 5th highest market for the Super Bowl this year, which is kind of weird to me. But maybe it's just us longing to be there one day and maybe getting a little preview of what next year is going to look like, what it's going to feel like when the Lions make their triumphant roar through the playoffs. You know, maybe that's why. But did you see the ratings, Bellino? I thought that was interesting that the Detroit market was the 5th highest.
You know what? In all 5 of the top 5 markets, they were all football towns, right? I mean, those are cities that appreciate, that love football. And so for me, I wasn't necessarily surprised. It was Kansas City won. The top metered local markets for the Super Bowl. Kansas City 1, Philadelphia 2. Okay, the 2 teams participating, that makes sense. Cincinnati, Detroit, Pittsburgh. I mean, you know, Midwestern towns. Football is very much a Midwestern values type of sport. It makes sense to me. These are towns with rich football traditions. I'm surprised. I would like to see where Cleveland checked in there, because that's another city with, you know, just a crazy amount. But Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. Where did Illinois check in? I would be interested in that too. And then some of the southern states, because of the SEC's reign of terror over college football, and now college basketball. We'll get to that in a moment. It wasn't really surprising to me. Football towns.
No doubt. Again, it was one of the great things. And you even had woke culture in there for all your woke culture people. You had an all women flyover, and you know, that was great, right? That was great. Why not? Why not is what I say.
Yeah, and like, you know, California, I don't know. I'm still one of those people that I really do wish, and I read an article in Bloomberg about the jock tax that they have in Arizona, and, you know, what the players are going to have to pay from their game checks there. I think it's like 2.5% of their game checks going to be taxed there in the state of Arizona, and it's different every state depending on where you make your money at, where you quote unquote perform. Is it fair? Is it not fair? I mean, it's a big reason of why, you know, a lot of pros will look to, you know, some of the states that have some better tax benefits, and that might be a little bit more of a free agent destination, if you will, because of the financial ramifications. But I would actually be more of a fan of the number 1 seed hosting. I would rather see that. Like, I would have much rather have seen that game played in, I don't even know who the top seed would have been, Kansas City or Philly, or how they would have done the tiebreaker or whatever. But I would like to see the home sites instead of the neutral, because I think the Super Bowl has become too corporate.
I can see that. It's yeah. But the thing about I wouldn't mind it. What I don't want is for them to go the other way. And there was a lot of talk about doing a conference championship at a neutral this year because of the whole Bengals-Bills situation. So that was potentially going to shake out, which and then they're like, well, we should just do this moving forward, the conference championship games at a neutral site. And I'm sitting here as a Lions fan. Heck no, man. Like, you're telling me once we finally get there, for all these years that you could have hosted if you were the better team, and the Lions, let's say they're the better team and they would have hosted, and then they don't host in Ford Field, where the rest are probably begging the crowd to be quiet like they did in the old Silverdome because it's too loud. Like, you got to be kidding me. So no, I don't want to go the other way. I'm fine. You believe in it going to the top seed. I like it, but just don't go the other way.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely love to see the higher seed be able to host, because in Kansas City was the number one seed overall, so they would have hosted. I think that when you would have done the anthem there for a home game. If you're unaware of how they do the anthem in Kansas City, land of the free, home of the brave. They say land of the free, home of the Chiefs. Like it's a really cool, something very unique, very special to Kansas City. That would have been so loud. Now I see right now which team missed the playoffs this year that will make it next year. Dominique Foxworth says the Detroit Lions. People are juiced. They can't get enough of the Leos. Let's go, baby. Little Honolulu blue and silver. Get us in the playoffs. Just get us in there and kick it off and see kind of what happens. I do have to ask you, man. Alabama, number 1 team in the country right now in basketball, as if they didn't have it all already, dominating the world of college football. Here comes Nate Oates in Alabama basketball.
The former starting point guard for the Ohio Bobcats, now the starting point guard for the Alabama Crimson Tide. How about that? Playing really well. Mark Sears is, of course, we're referring to. First team All-MAC last year. Started his career in Ohio, was a backup to Jason Preston in the NCAA tournament, played really well. And then, last year averaged 20 a game for us and, said I want to go back home and went to Alabama. So, sometimes you sit here and you think to yourself what could have been, because our starting forward is at playing for a top 10 team against Virginia or in Virginia.
Yeah, so, what's his name?
Vanderplas.
I was going to say three names, Vanderplas.
Yep. So you just sit here and wonder what could have been, but, this is college basketball. This is the life right now. You got to reload, and, I do think there's certain coaches do it certain ways, and, I don't think the portal cures all ills. I don't think you can go strictly portal. And it depends who you are, too, but it'd be very interesting in the next couple of years to do some case studies and put together some numbers of the most successful teams and where they've gotten their players, or who majority of what players make up the team. Because you look at Alabama, and it's mostly homegrown talent with 1 or 2 transfer portal guys. And then with those 1 or 2 transfer portal guys, you can't miss, right? You got to know what you're getting in them, and you got to know that they're going to, gel well with your team and not come in with an ego. And really the makeup of your team is really important. I saw people talk about Alabama, how their chemistry is at an all-time high, and it's like that's what you need when you go to the portal, when you mesh these kind of families of freshmen and upperclassmen and guys who've been in your program for some years. So it'll be a very interesting case study. But you look at a team like Purdue, former number 1, and Alabama, and very few portal guys. Purdue, I don't think any, but Alabama, maybe just a couple.
And I think that's where our Michigan Wolverines, I think that's where we've struggled a little bit, having to go get a point guard. You go get Mike Smith, you go get Devontae Jones, and you go get Jalen Llewellyn. That's 3 straight years of a transfer portal point guard. And, it is removed some other guys have transferred out of the program. It's really built in sort of an area of instability at arguably the most important position on the floor. Now, I like Doug McDaniel a lot. I'm a Doug McDaniel guy. He's a hell of a lot of fun to watch. He didn't shoot it great the other night against Indiana, but they were right there, and had they scored in the final 5 minutes, it's probably a different outcome. That's neither here nor there. But especially at that position, Michigan's had a lot of roster turnover, and I think that's what's plagued them, between guys going to the NBA and guys transferring. You look at a team right now that's struggling to find some production at guys 7, 8, and 9, and sometimes even 10, where you should have like Caleb Houston and Jet Howard. You should have Moussa Diabate and Brandon Johns Jr. and Hunter Dickinson in your front court along with Terrace Reed. You should be able to have, Frankie Collins and Doug McDaniel. You know what I mean? Like, you should have 2 at every spot, and they just don't have that.
Yeah, and it's the continuity thing, right? And I think you're exactly right. When you lose guys, well, Michigan's an interesting study. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. But your best 1 or 2 are going to the NBA. You look like a Franz Wagner, guys like that, Caleb Houston, Moussa Diabate. And then it's like the guys who are playing behind them aren't happy either, so they're transferring to another college institution. When those guys left for the NBA, it would have been a natural move for the other guys to slide right in, guys who have been in your program for 3-4 years, like Brandon Johns. And maybe a Zeb Jackson. So it's interesting where you're at, and every team's different because not every team has that high-level NBA talent that's leaving, like a Purdue with some strong upperclassmen. So it's like now you can kind of build something and have the best returning team, because not only because of your talent, because of your continuity. and throwing some really good coaches there too. So it's just really interesting. Yeah, I think this summer we'll have to talk after the season ends and see who the best teams in the country were the past couple of years, and then see the makeup of the transfer portal versus recruiting freshmen and see where we're at.
Yeah, that would be. I would love to see that and see it basically on like a chart. Like, give me some sort of graph because like look, I mean I
The
looked at
y-axis.
huh
You want to X and y-axis?
Yeah, XY axis. I mean I look at a team in the MAC that added one of the bigger transfer portal names out there, and the guy went 2 for 17 the other night. It's like I mean I just geez Louise, like what are you gonna do? Your Bobcats hosting the Buffalo Bulls at the Convocation Center. You gonna have big attendance tonight?
I think we'll have pretty good attendance. We've the past couple games we've had around 8,000, 9,000. For Miami, we had 9,000. Akron, we had I think 7,000 or 8,000, and a big win there. So we're winners of 3 straight right now. So we're going to try and keep it going tonight in the friendly confines of the Combo Center. Always good to be at home, Bellino. Always good to be at home.
It's wonderful to be at home, and I knew that attendance had been up a little bit there, and I was like, oh, what's going on down there? Oh yeah, and Buffalo's a team. They put 102 on Eastern Michigan. Was that? But then the very next game, they struggled a little bit to put the biscuit in the basket. After that, that EMU explosion of offense, they only put up 65 against Kent State. Was that more matchup based, or is this a Buffalo team that's that can get scary good at any time?
Very good at any time. They've had some really weird games, like you just mentioned, some really weird box scores when you look at it against some teams, So I think that they are capable. They play with the number 1 pace in the conference, meaning they push the ball fastest pace in the conference. So you're going to create possessions that way, and they also lead the conference in offensive rebounding at 14 a game, so you get more possessions that way as well. So if you look at a team like Buffalo, they're a team that could get scary good if they start hitting some shots created with the possessions, the extra possessions that they get on the offensive rebound and the extra positions they get with the tempo that they play at. So very scary team, really good team. And like I said, it's good to be home, and hopefully now we can keep it going at home and then continuing on, I think, at Central Michigan this week. So going up to the Benton on Saturday.
It's a beautiful thing, my friend Kyle Barlow. Thank you so much for the time this morning. Always great to catch up with you. Best of luck this evening, my friend.